So tonight's session, we're going to start off with what are the different components to putting together a effective grant. The first component, and we talked about these items, some of these items, is the vision statement. We talk about the vision statement, talks about the future. And then the purpose statement. Purpose statement talks about why do you do what you do, and then the mission statement. When we get into the heart of the grant, it's divided into different sections. The first section is called the summary or the project overview. So this section, this clearly and concisely summarize the request that's being made. The second part of component of the grant is called introduction and organizational development. In the introduction, this is where you establish your worthiness as an organization. This is when you begin to talk about the expertise that you bring to the table, the skill sets that you and your team bring to the table in order to make the successfulness of the thing that you're trying to do. The next part of the component, keep in mind, over the length of all our classes, we're going to go over each one of these sections of components individually.
Okay.
The next part of the grant is the statement of the problem. Tonight, we're going to get in depth about the statement of the problem. The statement of the problem begins to analyze what is it exactly that's causing the problem and who's affected by the problem. It deals with the what, the who, the where, the when, and the how. And we're going to get more in depth into that. And then the fourth part of the grant goes over the goal. We've been over goals already. The fifth is the objective. We went over the objectives last week. And the sixth section is called the methods and design section. We haven't gone over this section, but this particular section of the grant begin to break down and specifically how do you plan to do what you plan to do. It breaks down your plan of action over a 12-month period of time. What's going to happen in month 1, month 2, month 3, on up to month 12. The next part of the grant is called evaluation. Now that you identify what the problem is, you identify some of the solutions that you plan to bring to the table. The next section deals with how you're going to improve it. And this is what we call evaluation. And we're going to talk about 2 tools when we get to evaluation. Well, more than 2, but 2 most importantly. One is going to be called the logic model, and the other one is going to be called the theory of change or roadmap for success. Once we get through the evaluation section, now we get down to funding. In this section, you begin to talk about how do you plan to fund your program. This section, you talk about having taken a course in grant writing, the way you're going to make sure you have future funding because you have that skill set to go after future grants. Now, this other section deals with the budget. And this deals with finance. And we're going to get really depth into how to put together a budget and how to do it, not only an actual budget, a projected budget, but also a budget justification. Then the next section is going to talk about how do you plan to disseminate all the information that you plan to get across. How do you plan to make sure others know about the project? That can go anywhere from Facebook to putting the information in flyers, going posters, that whole 9-yard gamut thing. And then your appendix, this is where you support that you are, in fact, a legit organization. Some of the things that you're going to have is in this section is the your articles of incorporation, the name of your board of directors, etc. And then the next section is going to deal with the conclusion. In the conclusion, you want to summarize everything that have gone forth in all items 1 through 11. Your conclusion section begins to talk about concluding all that information. But here's what's important about your conclusion section that's not so in any part of the other grades. In your conclusion section, you can appeal to the person's emotion. For example, I do this because my people are suffering, and I've seen the suffering that they have to endure. This is when you get personal, and this is number the last paragraph. Because the one thing you want to get across to the funder is that I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this out of experience that I experience in life. And this is what I see as the solution to that. Let's see. Okay. Once we do that, then we have to be able to talk about the big picture. The big picture normally breaks down how you go from your values to your tactics. Your values is what do you believe? Your mission, as we talk about it, is why you exist. Your vision talks about where you want to be in the future. Your strategies talk about how do you plan to get there. And then finally, your tactics talk about what you're going to do to get there. In essence, that breaks down into 3 sections. First, long term, medium, and short term. Okay, that being said, let's click and record here.